They called it a procession, not an arrival. Admiral Tereth Kell watched the human vessel translate from slipspace with professional boredom, hands clasped behind his mantle as the Council's panoramic holotank resolved the image. One ship. Angular. Over-armored, bristling with protrusions that looked almost ceremonial, kinetic mounts, physical plating. A relic drifting into a battle space controlled by 10,214 Council hulls arranged in flawless lattice formation. Classification? He asked, already certain. The tactical chorus answered in unison. Human military vessel, designation USS Blackstar, estimated displacement minimal, power signature inefficient, armament profile obsolete. A faint ripple of amusement passed. Through the command dais. Humans always arrived like this, late to history, clinging to mass and momentum in an era of clean energy and elegant force projection. The Council had catalogued their wars, their doctrines, their stubborn nostalgia for armor that could be touched. They built ships like fortresses and called it courage. Tereth Kell leaned closer to the display. The Blackstar advanced at a steady imvector, 0.02C relative, broadcasting no heraldry beyond a narrowband identifier, no escort, no ceremonial screen, no attempt at negotiation beyond a single data burst that the translators flagged as terms. Processing request? A junior Flag officer asked. Deny, Tereth Kell said. Record for archives. This will be instructional. The fleet's forward elements adjusted, energy veins unfolding like petals. 67 capital ships moved into optimal firing geometry, their emitters charging with a harmonic glow measured in clean terawatts. This was how the galaxy enforced order, not with brutality, but inevitability. A brief demonstration, a quick erasure. The humans would scatter, they always did. Estimate time to neutralization? Tereth Kell asked. Under 9 minutes, came the reply. 0 Council losses projected. Good. Clean numbers calmed younger species. The Blackstar crossed the outer engagement boundary at 300,000 kilometers. Still no evasive action. Still no shield bloom. Its hull looked wrong, layered, faceted, thick in a way that offended Council sensibilities. Armor was a confession of fear. Everyone knew that. Tereth Kell allowed himself a small smile. Begin. Instructional fire. 20% output. Let them see the difference. The order rippled outward. Energy lances leapt the void, converging with mathematical grace. The first salvo struck the human ship dead center, bathing it in light bright enough to wash the stars pale. Sensors flared. Data streamed, then hesitated. Report, Tereth Kell said, frown forming. A pause, too long for a machine chorus. Impact. Confirmed. Energy transfer. Absorbed. Residual bleed. Negligible. Silence followed, thick and uncomfortable. Clarify, he said. Armor integrity unchanged. Thermal rise within tolerance. Shield signature remains. Absent. On the display, the light faded. The Blackstar was still there, unbowed, unmarked. Continuing forward on the same vector, its speed incrementally increasing. A single line of text appeared beneath the human identifier, translated automatically, objectives unchanged, Tereth Kell. Straightened, irritation pricking his calm. Increase output, full spectrum, record everything. The galaxy needed to remember this moment, the last time humans mistook stubbornness for survival. Behind him, the fleet's weapons charged again. The Blackstar did not slow. The Council spoke first because it always did. Admiral Tereth Kell allowed the irritation to settle into something colder as the second firing cycle charged. Before he gave the order, protocol required contact. Even relics were afforded the courtesy of submission. The channel opened across all bands, layered with authority. Codes older than most civilizations. Human vessel USS Blackstar, he intoned. Voice amplified for record and witness. You are in violation of Council exclusion statutes. Power down. Surrender your command crew. Your ship will be seized. Your species will be sanctioned. Compliance guarantees survival. The words had ended wars for 10,000 years. For 12 seconds, there was no response. The tactical display ticked forward, distance closed to 280,000 kilometers. The human ship's acceleration curve shifted slightly upward, still modest, but deliberate. Not evasive, not desperate. Then the reply came audio only, no hologram, no rank markers. Galactic Council Fleet, a calm human voice said. Female, even-toned, unhurried. This is Captain Mara Ilyas, commanding USS Blackstar. Tareth Kell gestured for silence across the dais. You have entered a restricted, human enforcement zone, the voice continued. We are not here to negotiate surrender, we are here to conclude an action. A ripple of offense moved through the chamber. Your confidence is misplaced, Tareth Kell replied. You face 10,214 council vessels. You are alone. Negative, Captain Ilyas said. We are sufficient. A few aides exchanged glances. Tareth Kell's mandibles tightened. State your terms, he said, already cataloguing the exchange. Is cultural defiance preceding annihilation? Our objectives are limited, the human replied. Cease all Council fleet movement within 3 systems. Power down slaver vessels immediately. Transmit registries of bonded populations. Command elements will submit to detention pending tribunal. The words were simple, precise, insultingly procedural. And if we refuse? Tareth Kell asked. Then we proceed, Ilyas said. Timeline's already in motion. A soft chime echoed through the Council command deck as analysts flagged the human ship's internal activity spike. Reactor output rose by 14%. Kinetic bays warmed. Mass drivers spun up, not to firing speed but readiness, everything measured, nothing rushed. You presume authority you do not possess, Tareth Kell said. The Council does not answer to primitives wielding metal. The reply came, without pause. Correction, we do not seek your answer, we are documenting your choice. In one line of text overlaid the holotank feed, translated in real time. Non-negotiable conditions. Clarify, Tareth Kell demanded. Humans do not target civilians, Ilyas said. Humans do not execute prisoners. Humans do not permit slavery. These are not bargaining points, they are constraints on how we fight. A beat passed. Another? You threaten us with morality? Tareth Kell said, incredulous. No, she replied. We're informing you of what survives this engagement. Distance, 250,000 kilometers. Time since first contact, 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Tareth Kell cut the channel with a sharp gesture. Log their statements, he snapped. Escalate to full output, end this. Around him, weapons bloomed into lethal geometry. Energy reservoirs peaked, targeting solutions locked. On the display, the Blackstar adjusted its nose by 3 degrees and increased acceleration again. A single human transmission followed, broadcast wide enough for every fleet to hear. Terms were offered. Then the channel went silent, and the numbers began to change. The order to fire was recorded as routine. Admiral Tareth Kell watched the command cascade through the fleet with restored composure. Full spectrum engagement. Maximum doctrinal output. This was no longer instruction. It was erasure. 67 Council capital ships aligned, their energy emitters synchronizing across 5 frequencies designed to overwhelm shields, cook hulls, and fracture internal mass through resonance. No relic armor could stand against that. Fire, he said. Space broke. Beams of coherent energy crossed 250,000 kilometers in silence, converging on the USS Blackstar with surgical inevitability. The first wave struck, followed by the second, then a sustained burn meant to peel a vessel apart, layer by layer. The holotank flared white as sensors compensated. Direct hits confirmed, the tactical chorus reported. All emitters on target. Output stable at 98% efficiency. Tareth Kell waited for the secondary effects. Hull bloom, atmospheric venting, debris. None came. Instead, the data stream slowed, then recompiled. Report, he said sharply. A pause. Again, that unacceptable. Hesitation. Energy transfer detected. Absorption rate. Recalculating. 93% absorbed. Remainder dispersed as thermal bleed across external mass. The image resolved. The Blackstar remained intact, its hull glowing faintly along armored seams, heat radiating outward in controlled plumes. No shield flare, no distortion field. Just metal, drinking fire and shedding it like rain. A single line of telemetry pulsed red, then stabilized. Armor integrity, 99.6%. That is not possible, an analyst said before catching themselves. Verify. Tareth Kell snapped. Verification complete, the chorus replied. Human vessel mass density exceeds projections by factor 4.7. Layered composite armor exhibiting ablative and conductive properties. Energy diffusion occurring across the entire hull. The next salvo hit harder. The Council pushed past. Caution, spiking output into ranges reserved for planetary suppression. Numbers climbed. Terawatts poured into the target. The Blackstar's forward motion did not change. Efficiency dropping? Tareth Kell asked. Negative, came the answer. Absorption efficiency increasing, now at 96%. The human ship accelerated, not evasively, not erratically. Straight in, its velocity climbing from 0.02c to 0.04c in measured increments. 12 seconds, then more. Internal gravitic dampers should have liquefied any organic crew at that rate. The Council's models flagged catastrophic failure. The Blackstar ignored them. A quiet alert chimed. Council fleet thermal load rising. Sustained fire exceeding cooling capacity on forward emitters. How long? Tareth Kell demanded. 3 minutes at current output before mandatory cycling. 3 minutes was an eternity. It was also, Tareth Kell realized, a limit. On the display, the human vessel's surface glow dimmed as heat redistributed, vanishing into the bulk of the ship. Energy in. Energy gone. As if the void itself had learned to swallow light. One of the aides whispered, "They're using armor like a sink." Another stinger line appeared beneath the human identifier, stark and unforgiving. No shields detected. Tareth Kell felt the first stirrings of something unwelcome. Not fear. Disbelief sharpened into threat recognition. "Adjust targeting," he ordered. "Concentrate fire on a single vector. Overload the mass." The beams tightened, drilling into the Blackstar's bow. Sensors spiked. The armor flared brighter, then stabilized again. Armor integrity, 99.1%. A second line followed, colder than the first. Energy ineffective. Distance, 180,000 kilometers. Time since first shot, 4 minutes, so 3 seconds. For the first time in recorded. Council history, the firing solution did not favor them. The numbers no longer pointed toward victory. They pointed inward, toward a closing object that did not care how beautiful their weapons were. Tareth Kell lowered his hands slowly, eyes fixed on the advancing human ship. "Cease fire," he said at last, voice tight. "Reassess." The Blackstar continued forward, untouched, as if the galaxy's finest weapons had been nothing more than weather. Acceleration was supposed to be a warning. Admiral Tareth Kell watched the predictive lattice rebuild itself, fresh, vectors blooming as the Council fleet shifted posture. Cease fire had been the correct call. Data mattered, models mattered. The human ship was an anomaly, but anomalies could be bounded. "Update intercept projections," he ordered. "Assume," in maximum conventional thrust. The lattice recalculated. Then recalculated again. "Error," the chorus said, a word that did not belong on a Council bridge. "Human vessel acceleration exceeds assumed limits." "How much?" Tareth Kell asked. The answer came with numbers that scraped at doctrine. "Current acceleration, 8.6 g, increasing." The Blackstar surged forward, its drive plume tightening into a hard white spear. No bloom, no turbulence, just raw momentum applied with restraint. The distance counter spun, down faster than the eye liked to follow, 160,000 kilometers. 150,000. 140,000 Council formations began to drift out of alignment as commanders compensated, elegant lattices bending under the pressure of closing time. Energy weapons required distance to be beautiful. Beauty required space. "Update," Tareth Kell said. "Acceleration now 11.2 g, the chorus replied. Human vessel internal stress indicators, unknown. That should have killed them. Organic crews did not survive sustained forces like that. Even with dampening, even with preparation. The Council had lost ships to half that strain. The Blackstar, did not slow. A new alert chimed. Human vessel vectoring through formation gaps, predictive models failing to converge. The lattice fractured into probability fog. The ship was too close, too fast, too decisive. It wasn't reacting to the OIC fleet. It was passing through it, choosing lines of advance that collapsed firing arcs before they could be brought to bear. They're inside our envelope, an aide said, voice tight. Distance, 90,000 kilometers. The Blackstar rolled slightly, a precise adjustment of attitude that shifted its profile from spear to wall. Armor facets caught starlight, then shed it. Kinetic bays along the hull finished cycling to green. Mass drivers locked. Acceleration. Peak. 12.0 G, a Stinger line flashed on the display, unadorned, doctrine break. Council ships scattered. Captains. Overriding formation discipline to preserve firing solutions that no longer existed. The lattice dissolved into motion. Beautiful, panicked motion. The humans had not outgunned them yet. They had outpaced them. Re-establish perimeter, Tareth Kell ordered. Pull back forward elements, restore distance. The command propagated too slowly. Physics had already decided. The Blackstar crossed 50,000 kilometers in seconds. At that, range energy weapons lost coherence, targeting lag mattered, reaction time mattered, mass mattered most of all. Another alert. Human vessel internal acceleration unchanged, duration at extreme G-forces now 41 seconds. Crew survival probability? Tareth Kell asked despite himself. A pause. Unknown. The answer felt wrong. Everything about this felt wrong. The human ship cut laterally through a gap between two Council capital ships, missing one by less than a kilometer. Its wake disrupted sensor nets, scattering target locks. The lattice tried to heal and failed. Distance, 30,000 kilometers. They're not maneuvering defensively, an analyst said. They're selecting targets. Tareth Kell's mandibles tightened. This was no berserk charge. It was a doctrine. Close fast, deny response, force the fight into a regime where preparation outweighed elegance. A second Stinger line appeared. Colder than the first, range is a privilege. The Blackstar leveled out, acceleration tapering with deliberate smoothness as it entered optimal kinetic range. The numbers stabilized. The chaos was contained by the humans. For the first time, Tareth Kell understood the mistake. Energy had failed them, distance had failed them, and now speed. Speed had been taken away. The Blackstar's mass drivers aligned, and the battle shifted from approach to verdict. The first shot was almost polite. From Admiral Tareth Kell's perspective, it registered as a brief distortion in the holotank. Space pinched, then snapped. A tungsten slug, magnetically sleeved and accelerated to a fraction below relativistic limits, crossed 28,000 kilometers in 0.12 seconds and punched through the nearest Council capital ship from bow to core. There was no explosion at first, just a clean line. Then the ship folded around the absence and went dark. Impact confirmed, the chorus said, stunned. Time to kill, 0.1 seconds. The Blackstar did not pause. Railgun batteries fired, in disciplined sequence, not a volley, but a cadence. One shot every 0.4 seconds, each round selected, each trajectory pre-solved. Capital ships died mid-maneuver, their elegant hulls failing catastrophically when mass met structure without warning. Energy shields flared uselessly, tuned for beams, not momentum. Slugs passed through, carrying the answer with them. 2 ships. 4, 7, casualties. Update, 3,800, missile bays opened next, not swarms, packets. 48 missiles launched in 3 waves, each wave staggered by 2.5 seconds. They did not chase targets, they anticipated them. Drives burned cold and hard, then cut. Guidance went dark. Final corrections came from inertia alone. The missiles arrived together. 6 Council cruisers vanished in overlapping spheres of debris as shaped charges cored reactors and fractured keels. The blast patterns were tight, contained, designed to kill ships, not waste force. A Stinger line burned across the display. Kinetics decide. Reassign point defense, Tareth Kell shouted. Intercept the missiles! Too late. The Blackstar was already inside minimum response distance. Point defense turrets slewed, fired, missed. Reaction lag measured in milliseconds became fatal. Distance, 12,000 kilometers. Railguns spoke again. This time, the shots came paired, one to cripple, the next to conclude. A Council flagship lost power as its spinal conduit vanished. The follow-up round arrived 0.6 seconds later, bisecting the hull. The ship separated cleanly, both halves tumbling, silent. 67 capital ships neutralized, the chorus reported, voice flattened by shock. Elapsed time since first kinetic discharge, 1 minute, 54 seconds. The Blackstar rolled, presenting fresh batteries without breaking rhythm. Heat bled harmlessly from its armor seams. Ammunition counters ticked down with calm precision. Tereth Kell watched formations disintegrate. Command hierarchies collapsed as flagships died too quickly to issue orders. Smaller vessels attempted retreat, burning hard for distance the humans. No longer needed. Track escape vectors, he ordered, though the words felt thin. Tracking complete, the chorus replied. Human vessel not pursuing all targets. Not pursuing, selecting. A Council carrier launched fighters, hundreds of them, desperate, bright. The Blackstar answered with point defense kinetics, a lattice of microslugs that shredded the wave. In 7 seconds flat, debris scattered like chaff. Fighter losses, 100%, another Stinger line appeared, stark and merciless. Time favors mass. Missiles struck again, this time targeting engines. 5 ships lost thrust simultaneously, drifting helplessly as railgun rounds finished the work. No wasted shots, no spectacle. Just removal. Tereth Kell felt the battle slipping beyond command. Numbers updated faster than he could absorb them. Council losses now exceed 40%, the chorus said. Human casualties, 0. The Blackstar eased its fire rate, not from exhaustion but control. It allowed pockets of the fleet to power down, to drift, to live. Ships that ceased maneuvering were bypassed. Ships that continued to fight were ended. Mercy applied aftermath. Distance widened slightly as the human ship repositioned, choosing angles that maximized lethality and minimized chaos. The battle had become a ledger. Time to total fleet collapse? Tereth Kell asked quietly. Projected at 9 minutes from initial kinetic engagement, the chorus answered. The Blackstar's guns fell silent for a heartbeat, then realigned toward the remaining command nodes. The verdict had been rendered. What followed was enforcement, measured and complete, as the galaxy learned how quickly certainty could be reduced to debris. The numbers spread faster than the wreckage. As firing slackened, the Council's wider networks came back online. Relays, lighting up across 3 systems as emergency protocols bypassed shattered command chains. What poured in was not a plea for mercy, but noise, petitions, justifications, archival citations of law that had governed the galaxy for millennia. Admiral Tereth Kell stood amid it, suddenly aware that the battle had outgrown him. The humans opened a channel again. This time it was broadcast wide. This engagement is not a war of conquest, Captain, Mara Ilyas said, her voice steady against the background of distant impacts. It is an enforcement action. Data followed her words, not accusations, records. Council registries spilled across the holotank, bond ledgers, population tallies, transit manifests marked with ownership codes, species names reduced to inventory, entire systems flagged as labor reserves. The scale resolved in cold numerals, 20,000 from 31,000 bonded sentients across 118 sectors. Average lifespan under Council allocation, 31 standard years. A junior officer whispered, "Those are sealed archives." They were, Tereth Kell said. The human feed did not linger. It moved methodically, showing suppression actions disguised. Is peacekeeping, orbital strikes logged as compliance corrections, cultures erased under the language of stability. The Council had not ruled through chaos. It had ruled through paperwork. We are not here to replace you, Ilyas continued. We are here to end specific practices, slavery, forced compliance, genetic erasure. These violate human law. A pause, then quieter. They also violate yours. Tareth Kell flinched as an internal flag surfaced, ancient statutes, long ignored, written before the Council learned how profitable control could be. The humans had found them, indexed them, prepared citations. On the tactical board, Council ships that powered down remained untouched. Those still firing were reduced, one by one. The pattern was impossible to miss. They're categorizing targets by behavior, an analyst said. Not allegiance. Distance markers shifted as the Blackstar repositioned, careful now, deliberate. No shots fired for 32 seconds. Then a single railgun discharge ended a cruiser that attempted to jump. Time to kill, 0.2 seconds. Another Stinger line appeared, not triumphant, just precise. This is enforcement. The broadcast continued. Humans outlined terms again, expanded now. For the galaxy to hear. Immediate cessation of bonded labor, transfer of custody for Council command staff, neutral oversight until trials could be convened. No reprisals against civilian populations, evacuation corridors guaranteed. You expect compliance after this? Tareth Kell demanded aloud, though the channel was muted. We expect outcomes, Ilyas replied, as if she had heard him. Compliance is optional, physics is not, the wider feeds shifted. Non-council worlds, client states, protectorates, silent observers, began to transmit. Some with disbelief, some with relief, some with fear, sharpened by hope. A message pinged from a mining system Tareth Kell barely remembered annexing. Status. Query. Are we free to stand down? The human reply went out without delay. Yes, power down. No further action required. They did. The Blackstar did not fire. Council losses stabilized at 63%. Human losses remained unchanged. Admiral, an aide said carefully. This isn't an invasion. They're dismantling the framework. Tareth Kell watched the map redraw itself, authority draining from nodes that had held for centuries. The Council had always believed itself necessary. The humans were demonstrating otherwise. The broadcast ended with one final line, delivered without emphasis. We will leave when the conditions are met. As the channel closed, the Blackstar held. Position, gun silent, mass looming. A reminder that the cost of empire was not paid all at once, but collected, precisely, when the ledger finally came due. The revelation did not arrive as a boast. It came as documentation. A new data stream overlaid the tactical map, cleanly partitioned, time-stamped years before the first shot was fired. Captain Ilyas's voice returned, unchanged in tone, as if the battle had never happened. For clarity, she said, this engagement was not reactive. Files unfolded. Human exploratory paths traced in thin lines beyond mapped trade lanes. Sensor ghosts catalogued and cross-verified. Long baseline listening posts positioned at distances measured in light hours, not kilometers. The word Razvedka appeared in the corner of the display, untranslated, then annotated. Intelligence collection. We observed Council expansion patterns for 18 standard years, Ilyas continued. Fleet response times, command hierarchies, enforcement thresholds. Tareth Kell stared as models rendered themselves, Council doctrines mirrored back with uncomfortable accuracy. Every maneuver he had ordered today appeared in pale overlay, predicted within margins of seconds. Probability of Council kinetic inferiority assessed at 91%, the human voice said. Probability of escalation upon refusal of terms, 97%. The trap had not been sprung today, it had been finished. They built counters for us, an analyst murmured, before we ever met them. Not counters, Tareth Kell said softly. Them boundaries. The feed shifted again, images of shipyards far from Council space. Hulls under construction, not as fleets, but as individuals, bespoke mass, layered armor, drives overbuilt beyond comfort. The Blackstar was not unique. It was representative. Contingency plans numbered 1 through 12, Ilyas said. This is Plan 4, a marker pulsed. Plan 4, Council enforcement failure, numbers followed. Required assets, 1 Blackstar-class vessel. Support probability, negligible. Expected duration, under 6 hours. Acceptable civilian risk, 0. The timeline advanced. Decision points highlighted where diplomacy had been attempted and logged as failed. The moment the Council classified humanity as manageable, the moment expansion crossed a line humans had quietly drawn. A stinger line appeared, understated and final. We waited. Tareth Kell felt something collapse behind his composure. Not fear, recognition. The Council had believed humans slow because they were patient. It had believed them weak because they did not contest every border. It had mistaken restraint for ignorance. The humans had been watching. Another data layer bloomed. Coalition signals, not fleets, observers. Minor powers seeded along Council peripheries, given nothing but information and time. Prepared evacuation. Routes, hardened archives, quiet assurances. They're not alone, an aide said. They never were. Correct, Ilyas said. But we chose to arrive alone. On the tactical map, the Blackstar held steady, while distant icons dimmed, Council nodes powering down under human terms. The kinetic storm had been Phase 1. This was Phase 2. Inevitability spreading without further violence. Tareth Kell keyed. In private channel, hands steady despite himself. You anticipated this exact battle? Yes, Ilyas replied. And if we had not fired? A pause. Measured. Then Plan 5 would have expired unused. Distance markers updated. No shots fired in 91 seconds. You baited us, Tareth Kell said. No, she answered. We allowed you to choose. The data stream closed, leaving the battlefield quiet and the implications loud. The Council had marched into a conflict, already mapped, its responses measured, its defeat priced and scheduled. The trap had not been cruelty, it had been preparation, patient, disciplined, and complete, waiting for an empire to do what empires always did. Silence arrived in segments. Admiral. Tareth Kell watched the first system go dark as if a hand had closed around it. Not destroyed, disabled. Comms relays winked out in ordered sequence. Navigation beacons fell silent. Jump gates powered down, their cores locked by commands that did not originate from Council authority. System 1 status, he said. Non-responsive, the chorus replied. All major fleet elements powered down or adrift. Estimated functional capability, 6%. The Blackstar moved again, not with the violence of earlier minutes, but with intent sharpened to a point. Its course took it through the inner lanes, where Council infrastructure clustered around command and extraction. It did not fire immediately. It transmitted. Final compliance window, Captain Ilyas announced. Duration, 27 minutes. Echo. Countdown appeared on every surviving display. Clean numerals, no flourish. The remaining Council fleets reacted unevenly. Some powered down at once, drifting into safe mode clusters. Others attempted withdrawal, drives spooling up only to stall as remote locks engaged. A few, fewer now, chose defiance. The Blackstar answered those. Railgun fire returned, sparse and exact. 1 shot per target. Engines vanished, command spines sheared away. Ships died without spectacle, their wreckage tumbling silently as the human vessel pressed on. Time to kill. 0.3 seconds. The second system followed 12 minutes later. Its outer patrols went blind first, then its industrial ring. Power grids collapsed into isolation nodes, reactors safe shut under protocols that had been seeded months, years ago. The Council had built redundancy for rebellion, not precision denial. System 2, non-operational, the chorus reported. Civilian habitats unaffected. Evacuation lanes holding. The Blackstar did not slow. It accelerated briefly, 6G this. Time restrained, crossing the void between systems as if distance were administrative inconvenience. No pursuit followed. There was nothing left that could. A stinger line appeared, quiet and absolute. 3 systems. 27 minutes, the pi. Third system resisted longest. Its defense fleet rallied around an ancient command citadel, weapons hot, commanders shouting into channels thick with static. They fired once. The energy splashed harmlessly across the Blackstar's armor. The human reply was immediate. Missiles. This time, 6 of them launched in a shallow arc. They did not target the Citadel, they struck its power distribution lattice instead, detonating with controlled yield. Lights across the system went out together. It reached A0. Compliance. Window expired, Captain Ilias said. Action complete. Across 3 systems, the battle ended, not with an explosion, but with absence. No orders, no signals, no authority. The Council's remaining fleets floated in enforced quiet, weapons cold, crews alive and waiting. Council. Losses finalized at 71%. Human losses remained unchanged. Admiral Tareth Kell stood in a command deck that no longer commanded anything. He watched the Blackstar come to rest at the center of the map, its guns powered down, its mass an unarguable fact. This was domination without celebration, control without occupation. The systems had not been conquered, they had been paused. A final system-wide transmission went out from the human ship, brief and procedural. Hostilities concluded. Maintain shutdown. Further movement will be addressed. No threats followed. None were needed. The silence held. Across 3 systems, an empire discovered that it could be rendered inoperable without being destroyed, and that the difference did not lessen the defeat. The guns fell silent. Admiral Tareth Kell watched the Blackstar's mass drivers spin down, the hum fading to a low mechanical pulse. Across the 3 systems, the Council's remaining ships drifted inert, engines idled, weapons powered off. The humans did not fire again. They did not need to. Channel opened, broadcast wide. Captain Mara Ilias's voice was calm, measured, unaffected by the destruction her ship had wrought. All surviving personnel are to be secured. Prisoners will be held in accordance with interstellar law. No executions, no summary judgments. Trials will follow. The Council's operators blinked at the message. Some could not believe the words, others simply could not process them. 3 systems had been neutralized, fleets decimated, and yet there was restraint. There was procedure. The Blackstar's craft deployed boarding pods, small, precise, autonomous vehicles, toward drifting Council ships. Each pod transmitted secure links, immobilized reactors, and locked weapons. Crews were contained without harm. Prisoners were monitored, data archives were copied, catalogued, and transmitted back to the human ship. Every act was calculated, every outcome quantified. Numeric anchors, 3 systems, 67 capital ships neutralized, 0 human casualties. A stinger line appeared on the holotank. Mercy applied. Tareth Kell felt something unfamiliar, the absence of retaliation. The humans did not gloat. They did not broadcast victory. They treated the prisoners with the same discipline that had governed their attacks. Every statement and order was procedural. Every restraint deliberate. On the central display, human directives highlighted Council personnel for trial, slave masters, enforcers, high command architects, no civilians, no innocents, no retribution beyond the bounds of law. A silent message. Spread through surviving Council systems. Your authority is diminished, your empire accountable. The Council has lost control, an analyst said, voice low. They are being dismantled legally. Not legally, Tareth Kell muttered. Mathematically. The humans had applied a formula. Enforce, neutralize, preserve. Victory had been measured, the consequences precise. They were not conquerors. They were executors of justice. The Blackstar had rewritten the rules. Captain Ilias's voice continued, calm and exact. Council vessels remaining operational may continue routine operations under temporary oversight. Civilian populations must not be harmed. Military actions, without authorization, will result in escalation measures. It was not mercy, as the Council understood it. It was mercy by design, applied with surgical precision. The surviving ships floated under enforced compliance. Their crews, aware that further aggression would be measured, calculated, and punished according to unassailable rules. Distance markers showed the human ship at the center of all 3 systems, unchallenged. The Blackstar's silhouette was immense but unthreatening. The fleet had been defeated, the Empire had not been annihilated. The humans left a path for the Council to survive, but only within strict boundaries. A final procedural message went. Out. Prisoners secured. Trials scheduled. Authority redefined. Compliance expected. Tareth Kell exhaled slowly. His fleet was crippled. His systems silenced. His command fractured. But the humans had not killed beyond necessity. The Blackstar demonstrated that power need not be cruelty, and that true dominance could be enforced without massacre. Across 3 systems, the Council learned that restraint could be more terrifying than annihilation. The ledger had been balanced. Justice had been served. And humanity, calm and unshakable, stood in the center. The systems were quiet. Admiral Tareth Kell floated in the command deck of what remained of his fleet, staring at the holotank. 3 systems lay inert. Capital ships drifted like broken toys. Communication channels were silent. The Council had survived, but only barely. The Blackstar had withdrawn its fire, leaving order in its wake, not chaos, not conquest, but an unmistakable calculus of control. Then the sensors blinked. At first, it was dismissed, a faint pulse on the long-range arrays, beyond even the outermost mapped territories. But it persisted. Slow, intentional, patterns repeating. The algorithms flagged something anomalous, something calculating, observing, waiting. "Admiral," a junior officer said, voice tight, "these signals, they're adjusting, tracking multiple vectors simultaneously. Not Council, not human, unknown origin." Tareth Kell leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The humans had claimed enforcement, not... We were not. Yet their actions had done more than neutralize fleets. They had disturbed the balance. And now something had noticed. The Blackstar remained in orbit over the central hub of the 3rd system, its silhouette immense against the dark void. Its presence was calm, but every sensor in the quadrant registered the shift. 3 systems. Worth of power nodes suddenly silent. Fleets decimated or immobilized, the Council fractured. "Multiple contacts," the analyst continued. "Outer rim scanners indicate object signatures, massive. They're accelerating toward this sector. Unknown composition. Not friendly, not hostile, yet." Tareth Kell realized the implications. Humanity had fought, measured, and enforced. And in doing so, it had drawn attention from beyond even the Council's knowledge. Forces the galaxy had never catalogued had registered the collapse. Forces watching, waiting, calculating response. A stinger line flashed quietly on the holotank. "Something watches." "Range?" Tareth Kell asked, voice low. "Approximately 12. Light hours at current vector," the officer replied. "Velocity and mass estimates exceed Council projections for conventional craft." The humans had not only rewritten the rules, they had awakened curiosity, maybe caution, far beyond known space. The sensors, overwhelmed by raw scale and unknown propulsion signatures, could only track and record. The Blackstar did not need to react. The horizon had already shifted. Captain Ilias's voice came over the general channel, calm and unhurried. "Council fleets neutralized, civilian populations unharmed. Further enforcement pending, unknown contacts noted. Maintain readiness. Do not provoke. Observe. Numbers updated on every console. Fleet integrity stabilized. Civilian zones safe. Unknown contacts. 3 range 12 light hours. Signal analysis ongoing." Tareth Kell felt the first stirrings of unease that were not fear, but recognition. The galaxy's balance had changed. Humanity had acted with discipline and mercy, but the ripples of their actions extended farther than anyone had anticipated. The Blackstar rotated slowly, aligning sensors outward. Its crew remained calm. Its hull still bore no scars, and somewhere in the void, forces unseen had registered the event, their attention drawn to this single human vessel and the systems it had paused. A final stinger line appeared on the display. Cold and factual, the galaxy noticed. For Tareth Kell, the lesson was clear. The war was over, but the horizon had only begun to shift. The humans would wait. The unknown would watch. And in the distance, the galaxy stirred, its balance quietly, inexorably tilting toward a future no one could yet predict. The Blackstar held position, silent and unshakable, a sentinel at the edge of the 3 systems, as deep space sensors blinked in acknowledgement. Something beyond the known universe had noticed humanity, and it was calculating a response.